Everyone has goals, but not everyone knows how to reach them.
Step number 1, state your goal. Don't just utter the words out, but write it down.
Everyone hits a wall going after their goals.
You'll know you hit a wall when you stop moving towards your goal. Sometimes you wake up one morning and you say, I am not moving forward. If you aren't moving forward, you have hit a wall and that wall sneaked up on you.
A lot of people take the easy way out, most of the time because of fear.
But it might be the biggest intangible of all, which is fear.
On today's East County Now, Rob Canfield with guest Mike Goss will tell us how to break through the walls between us and our goals.
Hi, welcome to East County Now. This is our second show, and I'm your host, Rob Canfield. The goal of East County Now, we want to talk about the people, places, and interesting things about East Multnomah County. Tonight, we're going to talk about getting stuck. You know, several years ago, I was in a very precarious place personally. My personal life, I was stuck. My business life, I was stuck. Every aspect of my life, I was pretty much stuck. Let's say it how it is. I was pretty messed up. I was really stuck. Then one day, a friend of mine said, hey Rob, let's go out for a cup of coffee. I thought, sure, a cup of coffee. So we went to a local restaurant and we sat down and we were talking, and I told my friend about my troubles and my trials and my problems and all my excuses. And he listened very sympathetically. And after I finished, he did something very interesting. He took a piece of paper, much like this piece of paper, and he slid it across in front of me. And he said, that's a piece of paper, just a second, Rob. Then he took a pen out of his pocket and he set it on the piece of paper. And then he said, Rob, I want you to, with that pen, write down the things that you want to accomplish. I know, Rob, you've had some tough times and you've been through some difficult circumstances. But just for now, I'd like you to write down on this piece of paper the things that you'd like to accomplish from here on out, from now on. I thought, sure, why not? Just for fun, I'll do it. So on the piece of paper, I wrote down several things that I'd like to do and I'd like to accomplish. And then my friend said, that's great. You wrote down some great things. Now, Rob, what I want you to do for each of those items, I want you to put a date down that you're going to accomplish them. Now my back stiffened up a little bit. I thought, uh-oh, now he's actually expecting me to put a date on when I'm actually going to do these things? But I thought I'd humor him, so I'd put dates down of when I thought I could accomplish each task. Some of them were personal, some were professional, some of them were family related. I humored him. I put a completion date for each one. Then my friend did a very scary thing. He said, that's great, Rob, you have some things written down and you wrote some dates when you'd like to complete them. Now, Rob, I want you to sign the bottom of that page to show that you're committed to achieving these goals by the date you set out them. And I made some excuses and I hemmed and hawed a little bit. And my friend said, Rob, look, this is now, okay? Take a look at what you wrote down. Now is the time to do this. You put your signature on it. Are you in? Well, he was absolutely right. I was in. And you know what? I accomplished a lot of things on that page. Some of them I'm still working on. Some of them I haven't had exactly worked out, but I accomplished quite a bit. And today my guest is my friend who actually got me on the road from being unstuck, and that's Mr. Mike Goss. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about Mike. Mike Goss is a guy that definitely takes the road less traveled. You know, he took some personality surveys recently, and they labeled him both visionary and rebellious. And I can account for rebellious, absolutely. Mike is definitely not a fan of the status quo. Now, Mike is a veteran. Thank you for your service, Mike. He was an Air Force staff sergeant who maintained navigation computers in the F-4 fighter jets in the Vietnam War. And after his military service, he went to Portland State University and got his business administration degree there. Now, Mike has held several management positions with multinational companies, and also, way back in the day, he founded Goss Consulting, which now has evolved into a speaking, a training, and project management company. He's a busy guy. Now, Mike and his family, they moved to East County city of Troutdale in 1998. He has a real heart for public safety. As a matter of fact, he was the founding chairman of Troutdale's Public Safety Advisory Committee. Mike helped organize the Mike Kellogg Memorial Fund, which really honored one of Troutdale's most beloved police officers. And he also worked, along with me, on a couple of political action committees that helped pass the bond measure for Troutdale's Police and Community Center. Now, Mike has a deep respect for veterans and active duty members of our military, and he's recently presented speeches to the Oregon Army National Guard's Yellow Ribbon events in Portland and Eugene. So again, Mike, welcome to our show. I'm really glad to have you here.
It's an honor.
Now, Mike, I understand that along the way of your business and professional and personal life, you wrote a book called Breaking Through Walls. Tell me about that. What is Breaking Through Walls?
Breaking Through Walls, the book, was a business novel that I wrote to describe how to overcome life's obstacles. Whenever we're trying to accomplish something, personally or professionally, we eventually hit a wall. When we hit that wall, Rob, we have a simple choice. Option A, give up. That's the easy one. A lot of people take it. They're afraid. Option B is to value what's on the other side of that wall so much that you will find a way to break through it. I only deal with option B.
I know we've all been there. Option A is give up. Hey, I give up on this. Let's go have some ice cream and watch TV. But you're still faced with that wall.
That's right.
And nothing happens. And I think you and I both learn is life is finite. We don't might not get it tomorrow. And yesterday's gone. We can't change that. We might not get it tomorrow. So the only time we have to break through walls is right now. If you really want to put a finger on it, the time to do it is right now. So tell me about breaking through walls. How does it work? Here I am. I'm stuck. What do I do?
I created a 5-step process to get you unstuck, and you've witnessed much of it already. I was honored to hear your story. It almost brought me to tears. I didn't know it had that much of an impact.
I don't want to make you cry.
Pretty cool. 5 steps. Step number 1, state your goal. Don't just utter the words out, but write it down. And after you write it down, give it a due date and give it something that is measurable, something where you and everyone else will know that you either achieved your goal or you haven't yet. Give it a due date. I will do this thing by this date. Now it's time sensitive. And then list the responsible person. That's usually you. Step 2 is to learn the nature of your wall. Write down its essence. Maybe it's tangible, maybe it's intangible. Intangible might be a change in regulations that keep you from doing something, but it might be the biggest intangible of all, which is fear. 90% of all walls are made of fear, Rob, and fear is intangible. We can get through it. John Wayne once said, courage is being scared to death and saddling up anyway. The wall is still there. The fear is not going to go away, but you can stare it down if you go to the next step. Step 3 is to make a plan to go through that wall. And when you make the plan, you list all the individual steps, and the individual steps have a due date, they have a deliverable, and they have an accountable person. If you complete your steps on time, by default, you achieve your goal on time. That's the first 3. The 4th one is to execute your plan. It's easy enough to make the plan, and sometimes making the plan makes us feel so good that we take a nap afterwards and we don't get around to actually executing, because after all, we have this really nice plan. Why go any farther? The problem is, if we don't execute, we don't find the faults in it, and we don't move forward. All we did was have happy time when we when we wrote the plan down. I used to work for an organization whose CEO wrote a beautiful plan in color, put it in a leather binder, and once a year he had his assistant take it out of the glass case, do a copy and paste, change all the year dates to the following year, reprint it in nice color vellum paper, put it back into the leather binder, put it back up on the glass shelf. That was planning as far as he was concerned. They haven't moved a lot. Good people, but not a lot of forward progress. When you execute your plan, you find all the holes that were in the plan itself, and that's a healthy thing because you're going to fix it on the way. And the fifth step after you've done that is to have a party.
Really? Have a party after you execute?
You did all this work, you broke through the wall, you should celebrate. In your plan in step 3, you already write out the details of the party so you can look forward to it.
5 steps. Let's break it down a little bit. The goal. Now, I don't want to pick on any person, place, or even, let's say, government agency. But a lot of goals you see, like, we want to support this particular project, or we're going to work on this particular project. Is that a goal that's achievable?
That is a happy thought. And if that's as far as you go, then you have no goal setting. You probably won't have a lot of forward progress. There's no target you're heading towards. You just did a feel-good statement and then had a cup of coffee afterwards.
What is required for a goal to be a real goal? What's required? How would you define a goal?
Rob, you have to state the goal in writing. It has to have a deliverable. I will do this thing. The next component is you must have a due date. I will do this thing by this date. Next, the final thing is someone has to be accountable for it. That's usually going to be you. So a goal, when you write it down, sounds like this. I will achieve $300,000 in annual sales by December 31st.
Personally, it might be, let's say you are a high school senior. Your goal might be, I will apply to 7 of my preferred schools by the end of the month, for instance.
Okay, that sounds good. I might ask you to consider one that's a goal that says, I will be in the school of my choice accepted by July 1st, 2015.
So you would actually have someone shoot for a specific end result.
Yes.
Instead of a scatterbrain approach.
Yes. The steps of applying to different schools are going to show up in step 3, the plan. And you'll apply to different schools and you'll find two or three offers. You'll evaluate them in terms of your goal, and it will help you to make a decision. If you had 3 offers in front of you, but you had no goal, how will you make the decision?
That's very true.
Where are you headed?
Now, a wall, a lot of times, people don't even realize they've hit a wall. They're in the situation and they don't even know that they've hit a wall. How would you say you would help people figure out, hey, I'm stuck, I'm hit a wall? How would you define that process?
Rob, a lot of this is with a yellow notepad and a pencil. You'll know you hit a wall when you stop moving towards your goal. The wall sometimes shows up and you can see that it appeared and you can know the day and hour that it happened, but sometimes you wake up one morning and you say, I am not moving forward. If you aren't moving forward, you have hit a wall and that wall sneaked up on you.
And I could see how you wouldn't even know you would hit a wall if you had no goals to begin with. You would have no clue.
That's right. If you have no goals, how can you have a wall standing between you and the goal?
You have nothing. So then you figured out I have a wall I need to overcome, I need to break. So then you make a plan. What are the aspects of a plan?
In the plan, if it is a plan that's going to take a while, I write down milestone events, major milestones towards achieving my goal. I write those first down, Then I write the individual activities to achieve the milestones. The beauty of that is, once you have your milestones and now you have the activities that achieve each milestone, they each have a due date, they each have a deliverable that you can measure, they each have someone who's responsible for it. Then the beauty is all you have to do is manage the activities. By default, you get the milestones. By default, you achieve your goal.
And you're talking about execute was the scary part. Sure, you plan, anybody can plan anything, but the rubber meets the road is you have to execute your plan. People are really afraid to do that sometimes. How do you get people to overcome their fear going from plan to actually executing and taking that very first scary step?
Rob, I have my client or the person that I'm helping, I have them look at their plan. And I said, okay, who wrote the plan? Well, I did. Are you human? Well, last time I checked, I was. Okay, so if a human wrote the plan, it inherently has some faults in it. We wrote the plan and it was the best thing that we knew how to do. Now that we execute in step 4, we start to find the holes in our plan. Weaker people shy away from that because they don't want to think that they ever made a plan that had problems. But stronger people say, I want through that wall because I want to achieve the goal on the other side. And I know that I have holes in my plan. I just don't know where they are yet until I begin executing.
Just like they say about a battle. You can make all the plans you want and it looks fine, and then you go and start the battle and the plan goes haywire. But that's okay, because it's okay to fail, isn't it, when you have a plan?
It is, because you started with something in mind. Instead of making up everything when you find a hole in the plan, you just patch that hole or take a detour around it. The rest of the plan still works.
So you've overcome some obstacles, you started your plan, you've made corrections, and you succeeded in achieving your goal. Then the final step is celebrate. Have a party?
It's party time, yes. You went through blood, sweat, and tears to reach your goal. Isn't that worth a little celebration?
I would think so.
Depending on the scale of the goal and the wall, maybe your celebration is going down to Flying Pie and having a calzone. Depending on the scale of it, maybe the celebration is getting a ticket to Maui. Scale it to your project, but do have that and have it in your plan. Know that you're looking forward to that. It makes the journey better.
That sounds like a great way to celebrate. Now, most people think of goals as, sales goals or building goals or that sort of thing, or project goals, but this breaking through walls could actually affect personal goals in your personal life. How do the 5 steps work in our personal lives? Can you give me an example of perhaps in your life how you used it in your life?
Rob, I'd like to share a story with you about a wall that I encountered that, with the help of my team, we broke through. Our daughter was in the 1st grade. She came home from West Gresham Grade School one day and said, Daddy, a friend of mine didn't come home on the bus.
Really?
When I talked with the principal, he said, yes, we lost a kid, and we're very sorry. And I said, that's not nearly going to work.
He was very sorry they lost a kid.
He was beside himself and he didn't know what to say. He cared, he just didn't know what to do. I met with him and I said, what kind of locks are on these doors? He explained that West Gresham Grade School at that time was over 80 years old. It had 17 pairs of doors. Each had old bar locks where you push the bar on the inside and the door opens. I said, those are one-way panic bars, right? He said, no, they didn't exist then. They're either unlocked from both sides or locked from both sides.
No.
And the fire marshal says we have to keep them unlocked. So I said, so what you just told me is anybody can walk in this hallway anytime they want. Well, yes. I said, not past today they aren't. Who's your boss? Well, that would be the superintendent. So I spoke with the superintendent, tried to. He blew me off 3 times. When I finally spoke with him, he said, I really care about this, but I can't do anything about it. I said, you need to spend money today to make that school safe, otherwise close it.
You're kidding. He said, we can't do anything about it. They lost a kid, and they can't do anything about it.
His answer was, according to the Oregon Public Meetings Law, we have to have a notice in the paper 3 days before we have the meeting. Then at the meeting, we can vote to spend the money. And if we do it any other way, that's illegal. And I said, then I think you should either close the school or violate the law. And he said, there's nothing I can do. I left. The following evening, it was time to elect a new PTA president. Guess who became the president?
Oh, 3 guesses.
And I had a board and everything. We went to someone's house and stayed there, all 9 members of my board. We stayed there till 1 o'clock in the morning, typing 9 copies of a letter to the superintendent. Instead of the normal process of one of the moms taking the letter in, I said, we're going to do it a different way now. First of all, everybody sign every single copy. Don't be sitting in the back. So everybody signed. I said, we're in this together. The first copy was delivered early in the morning to the Oregonian. The next copy was delivered to each of the TV stations and radio stations in Portland. Then that person came out. There was an AM station in Gresham at the time. They delivered it there. The last copy was delivered to the superintendent, who then was calling me at my office downtown.
What do he have to say to you?
Well, the third time when I finally took the call, he said, what'll it take to stop this? And I said, the same thing I asked you for before. Make that school safe and do it right now. He said, well, I've already done it. I've ordered all the hardware. My locksmith is over at the warehouse getting the hardware now. And I said, you told me you couldn't do that. Well, I found a contingency fund. And I said, good for you. You found a contingency fund.
Good.
What happened was we took the risk. We didn't care if it was a popular move or not. We cared about the safety of the children in the school. Within 24 hours, all 17 pairs of doors had one-way panic bar locks, and the only way you could get into the school from the outside was the front door, and you were viewed by a camera whose monitor was in the principal's office. From that point on, that school was safe. Now my kids and everybody else's kids had a safe place to go to school. Interestingly enough, it went throughout the Gresham School District. All of the schools followed what we had done. And a few years later, I was installing some software up at Mount Hood, and I was talking with someone on site, and they said, hey, we're putting new locks on our doors. I said, good for you. What spurred that on? They said, well, we finally have the money to do it, and some guy making a big fuss in Gresham caused all of this, and I don't know if he knows it, but it changed things throughout the Pacific Northwest. And I tearfully shook her hand and said, cool. Very cool. If you're going to leave a legacy, why not leave that one?
That's an amazing story, and it's really interesting. They lose a kid and they say there's nothing we can do about it, but through some breaking through walls techniques from you and some others on that PTA, action was taken.
I had a great team. We accomplished a whole lot within 24 hours.
That's amazing. Now, breaking through walls, that's an example, or a personal example, and also an example where you actually helped the school get their priorities straight and actually take action. Do you think the breaking through walls technique could be used in local and regional governments in East County, for instance, City of Troutdale, Fairview, Gresham Wood Village, Multnomah County? You and I have both been to a lot of meetings, and you see goals like, we'll support this activity, or we're going to follow the progress on this activity. And this is the reason why things don't get done in cities. How do you think that if cities use breaking through walls, they could achieve more save tax dollars, get things done, make places more safe? How could they apply that?
Rob, I start out with the idea that everybody wants to do good. Everybody wants to do something more for the community, but not everyone knows a way to do that. And so they fall back into not setting goals. If they didn't set a goal, why, there's no need to define a wall. When I was the chair of the Public Safety Advisory Committee, we were the first committee to put together a set of goals before the starting of the year. Ours is the model for the other city committees now.
Now, in closing, Mike, for everyone in East County, what advice would you offer to the audience?
My advice would be, in your personal life and in your professional life, you will hit a wall. It can be overcome. All you have to do is set a goal, define what's in your way, make that plan, execute it, and fix things on the way, and then have a party afterwards.
Party's the best thing.
It is.
And this is something that can be used, like Mike was saying, in your personal life, in your business life, city life, county life, every part of your life. The important thing is to not be afraid, or everyone's afraid, but to remember that being afraid won't kill you. Both Mike and I are members of Toastmasters. And you know, the most fearful thing that people in surveys have said they're afraid of is fear of public speaking. both Mike and I have figured out, yeah, it can be scary to get up on stage, but fear, it won't kill you. It will not kill you. And if you have a plan and you execute the plan, the funny thing is when you concentrate on that plan, the fear goes away. All you have to do is say, yeah, I'm afraid, but I'm going to take these action steps anyway. And that really is the end goal of breaking through walls, is taking action steps, getting things done, and achieving things. That's about it for breaking through walls. Mike has been involved also with a way to thank veterans. A lot of people don't know how to thank veterans. So before we close up, Mike, give us a lesson on how to thank a veteran. For instance, when I say, Mike, thank you for your service, is that the right way to thank a veteran?
Sure, that's fine. And my response will be thank you for your support. The veterans who are serving in wars, have served in wars, need the support of everybody at home. So my response would always be thank you for your support. I use this in my yellow ribbon presentations, and we raise the ceiling tiles in the auditorium.
That's pretty cool. That's very, very cool. I'm glad very much. Thank you for your service, and thank you for helping the veterans out and giving them their due. Now, if anyone has questions on breaking through walls and the process, how can they contact you?
The best place to start is my website, gossconsulting.com. Everything branches from there.
Very good. So this is Rob Canfield, East County Now. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks again, folks, and thanks for watching.
We welcome your comments and suggestions. You can reach us at info@eastcountynow.org. Check out our Facebook page, East County Now. East County Now is produced and hosted by Rob Canfield. Our technical director is Frank Martin, who also does the audio. Sandra Askelson, graphics. Our announcer today was Tana Canfield. East County Now is produced through the facilities of Metro East Community Media in Gresham, Oregon.